Suck it.
Today on the show, we have Jamie Stem, former singer of the rock band Cinch. He's now a solo artist, writer, composer, and comedian. You guys hit subscribe at the bottom and enjoy the show. Jamie Stem, how the hell have you been?
I've been good. I have been good, Malcolm Springer. How about yourself?
Doing good, because we've had a great time this week, man, working on your stuff, man. And just for you guys out there that don't know who Jamie is, he was a singer in a band called Cinch. It was on Roadrunner.
Yep.
I produced their first record. How many years ago was that?
It was almost 25 years ago. Yeah, back in the year.
Wow.
Back in the year 2000.
Yeah. And there's a lot to talk about that record too, because man, there was some weird stuff that happened.
Yes, it was very weird. Without a doubt. I mean, it was our first record I had ever made with a real producer. We'd made demos and stuff up to that point, and then we got signed to Roadrunner, and of course ended up working with you. So we were like, our dreams were coming true. We went to Nashville. We were like, oh my gosh, this is for real,
And man, I miss old Charlie Bracco. He engineered that for me, and Charlie was one hell of a man. We all miss him.
Yeah, he was. It was when we got down there, we met Charlie for the first time because we had met you up in Philadelphia. He'd come up to meet us, and watching football games in the room together, and he was without a doubt one of my favorite people, and like his smile kind of like just was always like a part of it. It was a good yin to your yang.
Yeah, he was always the calm one in the room.
Yes.
And I was always the lunatic.
Yes, that's very true.
How things have changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious. Like, I'm not going to say anything on here. There's some crazy stuff happens, and usually I'm the one now that's all logical and like trying to settle everybody down, and but anyway, so. Man, you've been staying busy though. You're a solo artist, and we just did a thing with you. I want you to explain to everybody like what kind of record 3 records we made.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you explain to everybody kind of how it went and everything? Because
of course,
this is over a 5-year period, right?
Yeah. For the past 5 years, I've been trying to capture the moments like when I have like the spirit move me, or as I say, like when the tambourine man talks to me, or whatever you want to call it. But there's moments where like I think every artist feels it, whether you're a writer or a painter or a musician, where you feel something kind of coming through you. And a lot of the times that's like the beginning of a song. Like you start there and then you build the song from there, and you bring it to your bandmates, and you work on it, and you go from there and you bring it to the studio and you make it. In this case, we just sort of captured that spark, that initial spark, and tried to clean it up, mistakes and all, and kind of show the audience that part of it. So we didn't re-record anything. I said, like, much in the case of, there was a song about a friend of mine who passed away. I had wrote her a song as a message. If I were to have gone into the studio and tried to re-record that, I feel like that would have been disingenuous to do. But to take the actual message and try to enhance it, and Malcolm getting behind the board and doing all the crazy stuff you did with the, it was really just incredible to watch you work with the songs in a totally different way, and in a way, try to find the voice, the frequency that the voice was on coming through the phone, because we recorded everything into an iPhone.
I know, and it's, I was talking to Richard Williams, and I'm like, me, I had to look up the frequency response of an iPhone. And they're not too bad. The microphones on the iPhones are really not too bad. I guess that's for the government to listen in on us.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to hear us, they got to hear us in HD, right?
Dude, don't get me started on that yet. We'll talk about that later. But the albums are really great. There was 500 recorded, right? And you picked 108 out of the 500, and then we ended up getting 30 or 41 of them done.
Yes.
And that EQing, where there's no mic placement or anything, you just set your cell phone down, you start playing. But what is great about the record to me, I'm just saying for me, is that it's totally freestyle.
Yeah, it's like I like to call it freestyle folk. It's kind of just what I've been calling it. Like if you just kind of get on a mic and just sort of make it up as you go. I had no songs planned when this happened. I had no lyrics planned, so you just start from nothing, blank slate, tabula rasa. And
man, there's some of them though, Jamie. Though I gotta say that I'm like, man, all right, really, did he not have a plan when he sat down with this? I have to say, man, there's some of them I'm like, there's no way he didn't have a plan at all. But I mean, if you say so, man,
No,
we're going to trust you. I know you're not one of those type of guys that make that up, but it's like some of them, like I'm like, wow, this sounds like a written song that was planned. You know,
Well, I was listening to one today, and it actually sounded a lot like "You Are My Sunshine," and I was like, well, I'm like, maybe it's just things that are stuck in my head coming out, and I know it's not "You Are My Sunshine." That's not the song, but like, it's little melodies that sort of like wrapping around in your head, and yeah, like I really didn't plan any of it at all as I was going through it. Just sort of, I said there's moments of inspiration where like you could just feel it. And I said my way was getting out the bucket and capturing it. And the bucket in this case was my phone.
Right.
The same kind of, like I think if you were going to do like 100, like a song a day for a whole year, you might get, that might suck. Like it might get tedious. You know what I mean? Like you're like every day at the same time, you sit down in the same place or whatever and you do it. This wasn't really like that. This was like, I had a lot going on in the past 5 years. Obviously, there's been a lot going on in the world in the past 5 years. And so if you took 5 years, 500 songs, and you just narrowed it down to 109 that were good, then you found 36 that worked for 3 different albums. And then we had 3 bonus tracks. And then we ended up,
those are the best ones, man. Those are great, man.
and my son ended up on those, and my dog. So my son and my dog are in the background in a lot of these songs, which is crazy. But I think it's also shows, it just shows what it is.
How real and genuine.
Yeah,
Real and genuine.
It's just me and my son and my dog at the house there, and I've always, when I moved into that house, it felt like a place where art and music could and should be made. And I've always been a person like that just let the vibration flow through you and see what happens. And I drew this little picture. It said, Ouija boarding, capturing what the tambourine man says, and I hung that little poster up on my wall. And I'd always look at that and be like, okay, get that phone out, because you always have your phone on you, and just hit record, and there you go. I mean, even in one of the songs I think I sing, like, I sit here and just hit record on my phone, and, like it's in the songs too.
Right. That's awesome, man. Now, look, I don't want to get too deep into some crazy. Yeah, I do. Let's get deep into crazy. So do you feel like, okay, so I have my theory on where songs come from.
Yeah.
What's your actual theory on that? Because I believe in the Akashic record, and I'm a follower of Christ, but I also believe in common sense too. And I think that he said things that was like the same thing as those people say, but whatever. There's an argument there to be said. That's for sure. I don't think songs was included in his thing, but I think it was in King David's thing, and that's like, and songs are in the air. And then it's not really come within you, but from without. And it's so funny because all those Hindu religions and all those Buddhism, everything is from the out. It's not from the in, and it's really weird. But from Christianity, everything comes from within.
Yes.
And I'm kind of a believer it's kind of both, It's like
it is,
that hey man, but songs I think are floating in the air, and whoever can grab them out of the air and put them into vibration is the one who wins the battle,
Exactly. That is a lot how I feel about it, that it is floating in there. I do, my opinion is that song predates religion, in the sense that like before people were smart enough to come up with religions, people were coming up with songs like long before that. Guys
I agree.
You know what I mean? And so I even think about like language. So when things are coming through me, a lot of the songs, sometimes the songs, I wonder like, why is it coming through in an English language? Why would that even make sense? And then you think about like greetings in other languages and how they all begin with like sort of like an H, like an hola, a hi, or there's a lot of like huh to like a greeting of somebody, and then and then to like when somebody's alerted to something, there's a lot of like, and so you have these different sounds that people have made through the years before language even existed. And when you just kind of let the vibration come through you, I find the rhythm on the instrument becomes a trance, and then things come through me. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes I can tell. I'm like, that's me singing that. That's definitely my opinion coming through. But those are the ones I don't. When it's like my opinion kind of seeps into it, I'm like, okay. But when part of the song isn't my opinion, when part of the song and I don't know where it came from, those are the ones I like the most.
Do you feel it's a spirit moving you? Do you think there's spirits? Do you believe in all that? Do you believe in ghosts and spirits and stuff like that? We've never really sat down and talk about that.
Yeah, I do believe in ghosts, spirits. I believe in aliens. I believe in a lot of different things that you can't see. Like I like in a football game when momentum changes and you can't see it. But if you're like a fan of a team for a long time, you like know that momentum of your particular team.
Oh, I know, because me and the wife are Philadelphia fans, and we saw that this year. Things change and shift, and it was like, oh my God! And now we find out that somebody was sleeping with somebody's wife on the team. Anyway, we won't get into football.
But the momentum is intangible. The momentum is not a physical thing, but we know it's there.
Right.
We agree it's there. So I think that like in that we can agree that things that we don't see are there, you know?
And I believe that's the way it is in life, period.
Yeah.
Like, and it's tough sometimes when things happen bad, man, with family especially. And I'm not talking about arguments, but sometimes arguments. But I'm talking people who are sick and, and you see other people in your family hurting, and it like just you want this negative energy just wants to freaking just, and I'm like, man, we gotta stay positive, I gotta stay positive. I can't sink into this depression thing because of this, because it's so easy to sink into that. But when you do sink into that, to me, negative things happen in your life.
Yeah, I think that I was just talking about this today, that I'm not a big believer in today's psychology, and that like if you're going to go in and start like talking about your problems all the time, then it seems to me that that would be the thing that you kind of revolve around, your problems. Right. I try to remain in a spot of positivity in the now. I try not to ruminate on the past too much, and I try not to make too many plans for the future. And I think that leads me to not be so negative and depressed. And then when it comes to sickness and that and people dying, I mean, my God, my parents have both been going through some things, and it's been tough on that front. And I always just think to myself, everything is breaking down in nature, and I need to be there for the family when these things happen. I need to be accepting and understanding of it, and
well, the whole thing is to be strong for the rest of the family, because you're a man, and that's not being misogynistic or anything. That's just the truth. It's like, so you have to kind of be the rock, that everybody leans on,
Be as strong as I can for everyone around, and in this case, my mom has been the rock for my dad. She probably wouldn't let me be the rock for my dad. She's there like holding him up through this, and as I said, it's the type of thing that I think that if I was to not be accepting of the entropy of life, of the breaking down of everything, I believe we're the imaginations of ourselves. So within that is this like important belief within me that like when I imagine death for myself, I imagine that I'm going to reunite with the people that I love and that I've seen through the years, and all the people that I miss, like my grandmother and my grandfather and the people that are gone already. I like to imagine that I'll be able to see them all. And then I think that if I don't imagine that I can't see them all, that I won't. So like, I think it's like strictly in belief. You know what I mean?
Right. And I believe that too. And I believe that's called faith,
Yes, it's 100% faith.
Yep.
And with that, I am comfortable. Like with that, like, and I think of it like, I think it like my own thing. So like, it's sort of like, I don't really think of it like, it's like when I did that diet and I lost a bunch of weight. I didn't do it with Jenny Craig or any of the other people. I did my own thing. And so it's kind of the same with this. Like I don't really like prescribe to like or subscribe to a religion or anything. I just kind of, I think about like there's a spirit that moves me. I don't know how to define it. I don't know that anybody else knows how to define it. And when people talk about like even talking about the past, I always think like, well, history is written by the victors. It's hard to really put your finger on like what actually happened even yesterday. The news doesn't always even report what happened today, right?
No.
And so I think to myself, like all that really matters is now. I can make great plans for tomorrow, and something could change, and I don't get to do those plans. So, and that would make me disappointed. Or I could make plans for a vacation, and I would work, and wait for that vacation. And that's why I don't go on vacation, because I don't like to have that plan ahead. I like to like be in the moment.
Yeah, because, last year when me and the wife headed out to California, it was like, okay, we're leaving on this date to get there. This is the things we're going to do on the way. And, Dude, well, I won't get off on a story right now because there's a good one I'll tell you later. But I mean, some hilarious stuff that happened. But I'm like sitting there working and working and working. I'm like, oh shit, we got to leave like in 2 or 3 days. I mean, what do we do? Because we have nothing planned. And then we're in there trying to plan like how we're going to go and everything. So totally disorganized. It's unreal. Tiffany made it a lot more organized than if I just went ahead and just, let's take off. We'll get a hotel. You know what I mean?
And it's different when you have a huge family. I mean, that's like I'm running here just as like me and my dog and my son, and I can usually just fly by the seat of my pants,
right.
But like, I never really judge anybody for the way they go about life. It's just, I think my way of dealing with my problems is to try to remain the most in the moment that I can.
Right, and me, I'm not making plans to be anywhere anytime soon because I know that I'm going to have a phone call and there's going to be a record and I'm going to have to go and I'm going to have to do that record. And, it's like, I mean, who knows what's coming up for May and June for me. I know I got one thing booked in June, but other than that, though, heck, I might be doing the next freaking Morgan Wallen record as far as I know. I'm serious. I don't know. Like, you never know what could happen.
Exactly. You never know.
I could go to Dutch Brothers and run into him, and he may go, "Wait, man, what's up?" And he'll hear, I mean, you don't know. I mean, because there's so many variables to happen. So I'm right with you on not planning, and that drives some people crazy, especially the wife.
Oh man, drives everybody in my life crazy. Honestly, I don't have a lot of friends because of it.
Yeah, my mom, it drives my mother crazy more than anything. Hey, Mom, we're coming today. You are. Yeah, we're on our way. I mean, this is kind of how we live, man.
I try to respect people's time. I do that. Like, I know that's been a problem with me, that I'm late for things a lot. So I've tried to be better about that. But the planning thing, like I do miss out on a lot of things because people don't include me because they know I'm not going to come.
Okay. Man, I have to ask you this thing because I think this is super interesting. This is something that a lot of people don't know about. Your prediction of 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and, you didn't verbally predict it, but you drew it out.
Yeah, I wish I would have brought the book with me. It was...
Well, you can send me a picture of it so I can show everybody.
That's what I'll do. When I get back home, I still have it. So I had written this song, and it was called To Die and Fall. And I had always thought that, like, I was scared I was going to die in autumn, like in fall. And... like the song was like the satellite collapses hard. And it had all these lines in it that kind of like afterwards really lined up with what happened on 9/11. And the day before I was supposed to record it, and I was supposed to record it on 9/11 of all things, I drew this doodle on there of a tower and a fireball going into the tower, with people jumping out of the towers as well and falling, with ladders going up and up the thing as well. And then in the fireball was a rabbit waving high, which was weird to me. But I always interpreted it as hijack, like a jackrabbit. And
right.
So it was just this weird rabbit waving high. And again, it was just a doodle I had drawn on the same page that same night before I was supposed to record. And I mean, it really freaked me out.
Dude, those were some really dark sessions.
I mean, good Lord, dude. I mean,
they
imagine
were,
where my head was at that point, that like I was like, okay, I drew 9/11. And after looking it up, other people had that same sort of thing where a psychic, something had come through them. And I mean, right. I'm always, as I said, open to those types of things. And happened that song I was recording on 9/11, if you look at it, it's not like it says 9/11 is going to happen, but it's there's certain parts of it that are just very weird to me.
But what's strange is me and James Burton, the guitar player, Elvis's guitar player, we had flew to New York it wasn't 4 or 5 days before that, and I had just gotten back because I remember I had to go to a meeting at Island.
Yeah.
Because it was in the middle of your record.
In the middle of the record, yeah.
And it was really.
We had just started the record too. I mean, it wasn't like we were that far into it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I remember where I was though when I got the call from my manager. They're knocking down the buildings. It was terrible. It was like then it was the worst feeling. And everybody was like, they were like this. They were looking in the sky like, where the hell's the next one coming?
Yeah, especially with the Pentagon thing that happened, and then you had the Pennsylvania plane, and like at the time you just didn't know like where. Like now we look back on it and we're like, oh well, it ended there. You didn't know where it was going to end or what was
Right.
even going on.
Or how many more planes were about to get hijacked.
And everything got grounded, and like it was just and to be that far away from your family. I was like in my early 20s, and to be doing something that was such a big deal in my life. It was I said, yeah, they were pretty dark sessions in there, mainly because
super dark
Yeah.
sessions. And the music that your band and you played, some of it was pretty eerie as it was,
It almost like, and as you said, with that happening at that point in the music business, we might not have realized it in that moment, but it wasn't too long before the realization came that like angry rock music wasn't going to be a thing anymore.
I know. And that's what's sad is it totally like flip-flopped on us and became more angry. I think after 6 months it became pissed off. We're at war. You know what I mean?
The pendulum swings. I mean, that's the way it goes.
Totally flip-flopped, and it's like all these labels that dropped all these bands because of the anger. Made some pretty bad mistakes because the hardcore guys, the real hardcore metal guys won at that point,
Well, the huge story was the Drowning Pool guys. As that's going on, like Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. It's a huge song. Everybody's like, 1, nothing's wrong with me. 2, nothing's wrong with you. And everybody's doing the song, and like we were on tour with those guys when that guy died. I mean, he choked to death on his vomit in his tour bus.
With the Drowning Pool guy?
The lead singer, yeah, while we were on tour.
Yeah, Jeff Hansen was talking about that the other day, and that band had a hard hit pretty hard on that, didn't it?
He used to chug a bottle of Jägermeister on stage, and it's funny because we eventually ended up getting managed by this guy from the Bloodhound Gang, and he was the bassist, and he used to do the same thing, and he told us, he said, I would do that, and he's like, and I'd puke the whole thing out on the side stage. He's like, I'm not keeping that in me, but this guy apparently would drink it and keep it. And they were sponsored by Jägermeister, as was so Drowning Pool and Bloodhound Gang were both sponsored by Jägermeister, and then that happened. Oh shit, dude.
Yeah, note to self: don't drink a whole thing of. I don't drink any alcohol.
Note to everyone, not just self. Note to everyone.
I'm just saying, man. I'm not a drinker, and I never have been a big drinker. I drank some back in the day, but when I figured out that I drank, and when I drank alcohol, I grew handcuffs.
What's I got you. I was like, wait a second. What are you talking? I got you.
All of a sudden, I'm getting stuffed and cuffed in the back of a freaking police car, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. There's always like alcohol made me grow handcuffs. That's a great way to put it. Like, man, I don't need handcuffs to grow. Grow on me. But I got tired of that, so I quit pretty early in life. The drinking thing.
I just quit 3 years ago, so it's been about 3.5 years of not a single drink of alcohol. And that's been pretty cool.
Oh, every once in a while, I'll have like a margarita or something, and I had one not long ago. I can't remember where me and the wife were, but I was like, man, I think I'm kind of a little bit buzzed here.
I imagine I would get super drunk if I drank any alcohol at all and probably lose my mind.
No, it's just, and it's not a good feeling to me. So you alcoholics, no offense, but man, I don't get it. I just don't get it, man.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
There's a lot more guilt and like hangover associated than you really think. Like you maybe just take only the hangover, and that's one thing. But then there's like a lot of guilt associated that I realized after a while that I was carrying around about like my behavior, and I would find that I would oftentimes do the things that I most regretted. And they might just be little things, like where I just text somebody something I shouldn't say, or get like maybe I had an anger within me about something, and I would be trying to not. And it would come out when I would drink sometimes, like I would be like, man, I don't like the way this project's going, or man, I wish you would do, and I find that like, if I'm more patient with myself and with the people around me, that I get better results. And so alcohol allows me to be more patient with people, or no alcohol allows me to be more patient.
Yeah,
I guess it goes both ways, right?
I think, man, that for me, I'm just saying it makes me not a good person. So I just like, it doesn't make me myself. So I like being myself, and there's some things I can do to be myself, and you know what I mean? The only thing I can really do to be myself is sell this album, I'm serious. It's the only thing I can do, and I can go, okay, it's totally me. Well,
there's tons of people microdosing these days.
Right.
I mean, it's, that you're like, that's a totally normal thing.
Anyway, we'll get off of all the addiction stuff, but congratulations on quitting. And,
thanks, man.
And you weighed 300 pounds at one time?
I did, yeah. I I got to be 297, and they had about almost 300 pounds there, and I lost 100, I guess like 110 when it was all said and done. But I always say I lost 100 pounds, and it was a long journey. It was I did it like in a very unhealthy way. I drank vodka at the time, and I ate avocados, and a lot of that is why I quit drinking. It was like coming out of like only drinking vodka and eating avocados to lose weight. You're gonna have a.
That sounds so bad on your liver, dude.
It really.
That sounds like how do you die from liver? You know, whatever, cancer, failure, what it would be, whatever it is.
You got it, man.
Would be to drink vodka and eat avocados every day.
Yeah, I wouldn't highly recommend it. You know, like I don't know if the avocados are really like counteracting the vodka, but yeah, like I wouldn't recommend that diet. But that was my diet.
Man, it's gonna be because I've got a little bit of a gut now, and I feel guilty because I'm like I told her, because my wife's so much younger than me. I'm like, I'm sorry about this. I feel, I don't look pregnant yet. You know what I mean?
You're fine, dude. What are you talking about, man?
Well, for me though, I mean, because I don't want to get out to where it's out of control. So I'll pull back here. I don't know. Pretty soon, man, I'll go on a diet and I'll freaking hit weights hard, and I'll be in shape in 2 months, 3 months, and I'll be back to normal. But it's like I just,
You're aging well, dude. I'm telling you, I was here 25 years ago, like you look better now than you did then.
Oh, well, thank you, man. Thank you.
Man. Well, it's more distinguished.
It's because of being out of the sunlight. I don't work in the sunlight. I'm always in a studio. And I think that's really, but I smoke though. That's what's weird. So if I quit smoking, probably wouldn't age near as much as even I am now,
Well, back then, you had a sponsorship with Red Bull.
I
and
did.
You had a fridge full of Red Bull in the studio, and I had never had Red Bull until I came down there. And I got addicted to Red Bull, and then I found out you'd to quit Red Bull after we left because you were drinking too much.
And what's crazy is the freaking thing you sent me the other day about how Red Bull, they have this thing that they taste this stuff, and it's like the worst tasting thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's like it tastes terrible, and like so they put it in little cans to make it look potent, and it went over.
It's supposed to taste like medicine and taste like like when people think about something that's going to make them like stronger or faster or like more hyped up, they want to then it's like if it's supposed to be an energy jolt, like it's supposed to have a bit of a bad taste to it. I guess I guess that's what we assume.
It's all marketing.
Interesting, right?
It's interesting how people just fall for shit.
I watch a lot of the stuff that guy talks about with marketing, and it really there's so much to learn. Like the Starbucks thing where they use the crappy beans, and and people get a taste for a different type of coffee, thinking it's a better coffee, but meanwhile it's a cheaper coffee, and nobody knows. So
to me, that's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'm sitting there going, really, Starbucks, because they're like, our coffee's better. It's like, man, the local coffee shop has better coffee.
Yeah, and it's a genius move, though. Like,
I have nothing against Starbucks. If you guys like Starbucks, y'all do your thing. But I'm just saying.
I have respect. I mean, it's. I think anybody that can pull off like things like that, I'm like, not only do I have respect for it, I try to mimic it and use it in my own life in some way. Like in sense, like this album is kind of that in the sense that like I'm doing a very stripped down version of these songs, and even you heard one of the songs and thought like, oh, we could do something with an orchestra with this one song, and I thought, Malcolm, that's
there's several, but that one particular one I would really like to get a hold of and do it.
Like that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like if I put it out like this, where it's very simple and it's just that spark, that I heard, then maybe somebody else will hear that same spark and be like, ooh, what could I do with this? And then in the sense that like it'll be out there, I'll get to hear people do stuff to it if that happens. Like maybe somebody will make a song from it. Like I think one of the most interesting things about Cinch was that when it's a stupid thing that people wouldn't think about, but like when you see someone like in another country covering your song on YouTube, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's somebody playing Something More in France in French, and they're just like, like you don't know you don't know the language, but they're singing it in French, and you're like, that's so crazy.
Hey, speaking of that, man, before we end the podcast, I want you to do this parody song that you wrote. That's freaking hilarious. You guys,
of course,
you guys are gonna love it. I mean, seriously, it's like. Me and the wife was laughing about it last night.
I wanted to share, like, because I took the foray into comedy and took those classes, and it's like, I said I'm on the microphone all the time, and I'm like not very good at like speaking in between my songs. So, I took that class, and that song, I thought I got to play this for Malcolm. He'll get a kick out of this.
So did the class really help?
Oh, so I see. You know what the craziest thing about it is I play basketball, and the next day it immediately applied to the basketball court that like the nervous energy you have on stage when you don't know what to do and it makes you kind of like pace or do whatever you're doing. If you can bottle that and use that to accomplish what you're trying to do, like what you're trying to say, what you're trying to get across, then that's what that nervous energy is really there for. Not to like fuck off. It's like there for you to use it. And so in the case of the basketball court, I'd been playing basketball for so long and missing layups, and I knew it was in my head, but I couldn't fix it. And the minute I applied that, I just started making the layups. It was so crazy, just like, wow, like, okay, I need to use that nervous energy I have as I'm going to the hoop to get to the hoop faster and make this layup no matter what. And
that's crazy because I am terrible at layups.
Me too.
I'll miss a layup before I freaking do a jump shot, and that's pretty sad. I mean, because I probably won't hit the jump shot either because I'm terrible at basketball. My son Isaac is amazing at basketball. I showed you his reel.
I saw his highlight reel. It's amazing. Isaac Springer, check it out, guys.
He got a full ride scholarship and stuff, and it's like man, he's amazing at that stuff. Now he coaches basketball.
I don't even think he was born yet when I was like down here last time, was he?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So I mean, it was like said 25 years ago. So yeah, no. Like
that's crazy.
Yeah, so like I to see him in his highlight reel, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I
just had the son that was real small. Now is a giant. Malcolm II. He's a giant, like literally a giant.
Yeah, you said he's almost 7 foot or something.
Yeah, he's freaking. Way to tall mother, you know what I mean. It's like
No wonder you believe in Bigfoot. You have one.
I don't know. Years ago, I guess I was into Swedish volleyball players. She's not Swedish. I'm just saying. She looked like a Swedish volleyball.
I'm still into Swedish volleyball players.
Man, you know what? I'm into redneck women, and I got one, and I'm happy with that one. But
dude, I am into redneck women too. Like I watched that show Ozarks, and Ruth, man, oh my gosh, she is that way she talks, man. I'm just like, oh, melt my heart, man. Jesus Christ,
that's crazy.
Yeah, Ruth from Ozarks is my jam.
Yeah. Well, I would like to say something, but I can't say it on here. But you know what I'm thinking.
Oh, God.
There's probably a lot she can teach you. I'm saying that. I'm sure she can teach you a lot about philosophy. And, I just got telling TJ, one of my, Chilopoulos, he's one of my best friends. And I was like, yeah, man, it's like I didn't marry my wife to take windy walks and talk about philosophy, I mean,
yeah, man.
You know what I mean? It's like, but anyway, we were just joking around. Like, I'm going to use that to my wife, man. It's funny. When you meet a girl, you should say that. You should say, I'm not trying to take windy walks and freaking talk about philosophy. This is what this is about, right?
Well, now you know why I don't have a girlfriend, 'cause that's what I say.
No, but
I'm all about writing songs and playing basketball.
No, but that's what I've said to both of my daughters. My younger daughter, my 12-year-old, like, hey, listen. Those boys, they're not after you to take windy walks and talk about philosophy and the meaning of life. Yeah. They're out for one thing. You got to watch those idiots because they're not trying to be your friend.
Yep.
But anyway,
no, it's true. I mean, we all try to adapt to. I think that's what happens eventually. And but if you can be yourself and find somebody that really loves you for who you are, then I think that's a beautiful place to be, man.
And what's funny is I can say that on here, and my wife doesn't get mad. She knows how I am, so it's great.
I've been here a week. I know it's beautiful. I love your house. I mean, your kids, your dog. I mean, your wife.
Thank you, man.
It's been really nice. You've been really, really hospitable, and I really thank you so much.
Dude, we've loved having you, man. I hate to see you go, and
I hate to go.
Like all my friends, I suggest you move here. Because I tell everybody to move here to Hendersonville. It's one of the greatest places. It's close to Nashville, and it is Nashville, but it's a suburb. It's like the Bronx and, Manhattan, it's like, you know what I mean? It's
you don't want to live in the middle of Nashville if you lived here long enough. To stay away from all that traffic and all the tourists and everybody that comes here. Right. I mean, you have to be on the outskirts of town. That's the way it goes, right?
Right. That's the way it is.
I barely made it into town. It's been raining all week, and we've just been recording, and I just get done and go to the hotel and come back, and I'm like, I'm going to go to town one of these days, but I really haven't.
You're like us. We don't big go out, guys. Where is everybody playing tonight? I don't know. Hell, I don't. But man, I want to. There was something that happened this week that I'm super proud of, and that is the moon landing twist.
You got me with that one.
Yeah. Okay. So, to you guys out there that don't realize there's people who believe that we didn't land on the moon. And I'm like, we landed on the moon, okay? But now look, here's the thing about the debunking of landing on the moon. They have debunked the debunked.
Yeah, they are debunking the debunking of the debunking of landing on the moon.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working on.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so it's like, it was so do you now think that we landed on the moon?
I'm still not entirely sure, but I'll say it like this. Like, I came into this 100%, anybody would talk to me, I'd say, like, we didn't land on the moon. No, we didn't land on the moon. Like, I was like a firm believer. And the main reason I didn't believe that we landed on the moon was that I saw this like interview with Stanley Kubrick where he admitted that he had faked the moon landing. And now you showed me this video that like for 55 minutes, it's like telling all these facts about how we faked the moon landing, and it's talking about Kubrick. It shows the video. And the last 5 minutes, it's like, that video is faked. That's not Stanley Kubrick. This is that. I was like, oh my God, they got me. So yeah, that video of Stanley Kubrick, have you seen that, where he admits that he did the fake the moon landing? That's not Stanley Kubrick. That's an actor. And it's out there, so you could see that and then not follow up to see that like an actor had done that. And I could see, you see how easily, I mean, think about that with deep fakes and all the other things that are going on, how easily the truth can be manipulated to the point that, like, much of what I was saying, the past, it's so hard to know what even happened and what didn't, or even hang your hat on any facts.
That makes it really hard, because it's like, I always thought it was a bullshit video, but I'm saying because well, I'm one of those guys. I had a father who was a Navy guy, and it's like, hey, man, if you believe that we didn't land on the moon, you're a communist.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was his exact words. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm saying it was something like that.
Well, I also didn't know that we're like an hour away from a museum that's full of all the artifacts from when we landed on the moon. So it's like a pride here in Nashville on the moon landing. Well, I didn't even realize that.
It's Huntsville.
Yeah. Okay.
But Huntsville, Alabama, if you haven't been to the Space Center there, the NASA Space Center there, it is amazing. It is amazing to see all the things that NASA invented. I mean, they even invented the snare drum. You know how you tighten up a snare drum to tune it?
Yeah.
NASA invented that.
Really?
Yes. They invented so many things that we use in our day-to-day lives that, like, it's like incredible, man. Like, it's like NASA even freaking invented because I've got a buddy who's got one, a way to vapor weed.
Oh, okay.
A weed vapor thing, like one of those.
I have a weed vaporizer. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying though, it vaporizes it in a certain way that doesn't hurt your lungs.
Yeah, I have that.
Really? Well, this is like NASA made this thing. These guys from NASA
they made
designed
those?
it. Yes.
They're the ones that designed it. Because I always wondered how that works. I'm like, this is like, it feels like an air fryer.
They're the ones that came up with the idea in the design of the vaporing weed, not smoke, but to make it into vapor. Like, like real vapor, like, you do your vapor vapes and stuff,
Well, my friends used to have like this thing, it was like a volcano, and it was in the center of the table, and they would put like the weed in the volcano, and a balloon would expand out full of
God, I wish I could remember what this thing is called, because I've seen the contraption and I will go, wow, it looks like NASA designed it. Yeah, I mean, it looks freaking like an R2D2 type of thing.
I think that's what we're talking about. I think it's the same thing, and it's just
it might be that.
It vaporizes. It's not like a vape pen. This is like it vaporizes actual
like
weed.
A big old box thing.
Yeah, a huge box on the table. Yeah, my friends had it. Yeah.
So NASA, my son Isaac says that NASA's all actors, and they're not. NASA's and not even real. Okay, it's going too far, and the Earth is flat. Look, man, we've talked about this. You're not a flat earther. You were a 100%. We didn't land on the moon. Now you're like, what, 50%, you think?
Yeah, I think that one thing I learned more than anything from it is that, like, that I could easily be fooled, because what did I was like, oh my gosh, that's Stanley Kubrick, but like, how am I going to follow up to that, and see that it's not? And who's to say that what we watched then, what if that guy's lying and it is Stanley Kubrick? So like, I reached a point where I was like, I probably shouldn't hang my hat too heartily on anything, because I don't know. I mean, you don't know what. It's really tough to know what even happened yesterday. It's like whisper down the lane.
Well, what was great to me was debunking the whole debunking of the photos.
Exactly.
How shadows they're not always parallel. It can come from one light source and not be parallel. And the reason why this photo was like this, and the reason why there's a line in the photo that looks like this, and the atmosphere on Earth, it makes things look far away because because the humidity, the further away it gets, so it blurs out. But now on the moon, there is no humidity, so everything looks like right in your face. I just think that that's a pretty. I just thought it was really interesting because, to be honest with you, that's not why I played it.
No,
I saw the moon landing faked on there, and so I pressed on it, and it just happened to go, "Oh, this is bullshit."
It was pretty awesome. I mean, it was a great twist at the end because, like, the whole time I was watching, I was like, "Oh, Malcolm, it's gonna be that I'm right," and then I was like, "I'm wrong." Oh no.
So also too, I forgot to look it up, but now what I've been told, and I think I read it somewhere, the only two things that the way they reflect the radiation when you go out of the Van Allen belt, which. I really, to be honest with you, I'm not saying the Van Allen belt's bullshit. I'm just saying that it's not the big, it's kind of like saying, man, what would be a good example? I've got a freaking Corvette, so I can run a NASCAR race. Well, no. It's some exaggerating bullshit, like, man, look, man, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think it's like, I guess that was a bad example, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not like, oh my God, we're going to die if you get out of the Van Allen belt. That's not the case at all. I know that for a fact from Neil deGrasse Tyson talking and Michio Kaku. I mean, I think those two guys are smart enough to go, okay, listen, well, that's true. There's radiation out of there, but we made it, well, okay, the lead thing, that's easily explained. And but the whole thing that I was told you about, and you went, "What the hell?" Is it a fact or fiction? And guys, could you write it in the comments down below? Is it fact or fiction? Does human shit shield radiation? Because that's what I've been told. There's only two things: lead and human shit. That they'll line the craft with human shit and will protect the humans from the radiation.
That seems.
I'm just saying what I've read.
It seems far-fetched, man. I don't know. That's a lot.
I know, but it's like that's what I've read, and it's like, wow. I mean, so human feces is what is going to protect us and take us to Mars. Our own wastes. It's crazy, I know, but it's like I've read it. I've read it several times, so it's not one of those things.
What does lead and human waste have in common? I don't understand what the common denominator is. There.
I don't know. I have no idea. It's just I think that gold would shield you better than human shit and lead. That's my opinion. But man, I mean, you know what I'm saying? They would just have to do a thin layer of gold around it, and everything would be fine. But kind of like why the aliens are here, or they came here to mine gold. It's like, well, because it's one of those things that helps everything. It's like gold is great, in a lot of ways. But, the whole saying that we have a thing in our DNA to love gold. Do you believe in all that stuff?
I mean, I think that, like, how you're afraid of snakes or you're afraid of spiders? Or maybe you're not, but I mean, just in general, that humans are afraid of snakes or spiders or certain things. I just think there's like these innate qualities that we sort of like get handed down to us through the years, not just like from our parents talking, but like, almost genetically in us. So yeah, I think like there's a certain like attraction to diamonds and gold and things like that with amongst humans.
Well, it's just weird because I do have this thing like, man, I'm gonna buy me some big gold bars one of these days and have them in my freaking thing, but it's not like, oh, that's my life goal, I'm not like, oh, I gotta get some gold if I wake up every day thinking about gold, that's not what I do at all. Matter of fact, that's the last thing on my mind is gold,
It's a lot like history to me, and the fact that like someone could say that I have like the greatest gold that's ever been made, and they could have a little machine that they test it with to say, oh, it's the gold for real, and I would still not believe that it was really gold. So like it's almost like, like it doesn't matter. Like for me, it's like
like whatever.
It's exactly like I don't have any rings or necklaces. I never have really. I don't think, except things that my son's made for me through the years. But like I've gone with women that enjoy necklaces, and my mom always. My dad gets my mom a certain type of necklace from this lady Sherry Tinsman every year, and it's like sort of a tradition. So like I see that, and I love that, and people that like they do that. But myself, I don't really partake a whole lot.
I mean, I'm sorry, I just don't care To be honest with you, I think my wedding ring is titanium, and like I'm cool with that. I don't need a gold ring. Matter of fact, I'd rather not have gold because I just don't look good in gold because I have red hair. I don't know. You never know. I've never tried that, so I don't really give a shit about all that. But I'm saying it's not in our DNA because we don't care. Providing for our families and having a good life is always there. But I'm saying gold is not on my mind. Oh, I'm gonna go dig for gold today. Oh, it's not what I'm doing on my pastime. But anyway, man, maybe that is part of the simulation we're in.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it is. Yeah, of course.
and now I'm a big simulation guy. So
Me too.
you are. I mean, what do you think when I say simulation? We've talked about Japan and Japan not really being there.
Like if you're not in a spot that it not be rendered yet, like a video game would render, like if you were in one spot, it would not, that place wouldn't be rendered yet. I mean, yeah, like that sort of idea, I think. Yeah. That like when you're not there, it's not there. Not to say that it isn't existing and the things that are happening aren't happening. They're happening, but like it's not there for you and your simulation unless you go there, I would think.
That's how I feel about it. Do you think the simulation was created by some master god, I guess you say?
Like in my mind, I picture there being like a filing cabinet with a lot of different universes and different types of different versions of Earth, different versions of this one particular one, and a guy can just pull it out and be like, what did the 8 billion humans come up with today? Who came up with the best idea today? Who came up with the best song today? Who came up with the best movie today? And just go through and sort of like farm from like 8 billion people rather than just being one person coming out. Like if I had the ability to do that right now, to open up a filing cabinet and have a whole world where like people that I had farmed and built myself in a simulation were all coming up with new ideas that I could then apply to my life. That's sort of how I look at it. Like I'm the guy in the drawer that's and so I think that like in a sense it really applies a lot to like what I do with life, and you too. And this is where we have this common bond that we both like creating, and I think we're only here to create. We're here to create music. We're here to create kids. We're here to create art. We're here to create. Maybe we build something. Maybe we make a song. Maybe we write something beautiful. Maybe we just happen to say 4 words together that happen to be exactly the right 4 words and the right tone at the right time. And, do you know what I mean?
That's so interesting to say because that's true, though.
I think that's like, what else are we really here for? We're not here to pay bills. We're not here to argue about politics. We're not here to decide what did or didn't happen. We're really here to create in the end of the day and to put something out there that we think that we love ourselves and that represents us and that's beautiful. And that's what you do. I know, like, that's why I came down here to work with you, that in the 3 months that we spent here with Cinch, I heard you interact with many people of all walks of life. I mean, you guys come down from famous bands and play ping pong with us, from Wilco and and I saw you interact with them, and I saw how you treated me, and mad respect for the way you are about life and the way you go about life.
Thank you, man. Thank you, because I love people. You know, and it's funny because I've said, well, sometimes, in rage, I've said, man, freaking the humans. But the humans are beautiful, man. I mean, of course, I'm an alien, but, I say that because I don't believe in some of the decisions humans make, and it just seems ass backwards to me. Like there's so many things that's ass backwards. I mean, there really is. I mean, how people treat others, how people look at art, My way of looking at art is completely different, and it's like so hard to like take a human view of it. You're going, oh, this is what the humans are going to think. Can I enjoy that? Can I close my eyes and enjoy this and feel like it's like the humans do? Of course, we all know I'm really human, but the whole thing is to subjectively look at things almost like through an alien's eye.
Yeah.
And go, this is what the humans are into.
Yes.
They're into smoking weed. They're into freaking getting laid. They're into rebelling against the system. they're into freaking talking shit about politics.
No, like
But that's what they're into.
zooming back and like looking at the whole picture like that is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, like zooming out and seeing it for what it is, and then finding a way to like vibrate in harmony with what the hive mind is doing is a lot of what production is. Trying to find that right sound, that right word, that right thing in that moment. And I know that like that's a lot of like what you do in the way that you produce music. Yeah.
But also too, though, what I have learned from the humans, and I've learned that hey, having the tools I have at my disposal to make the best of those and do just as good a job as someone who has more tools and more freaking outlets of people to hire, to help, and all this stuff. And that to me is part of the simulation that I love, you know.
Oh man, making more with less.
Yeah, because
that's beautiful.
I'm going to build this skyscraper with just a team of people, man, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be higher than everybody else's, and you know, fuck the system, you know. And because I don't need all the big session players in Nashville to make a hit record, I can do it on my own, you know.
It's because you know all the red tape and all the stuff that comes along when you're doing it with more. You know, when you do it with less, you know what you're working with. But when you try to get to that part where you're working with like more, you know it comes along with that, and it does can ruin the session. It can ruin the vibe. It can ruin that spark.
Man, I know I'm so fortunate because I have great friends like Paul Allen, Miles McPherson. Plays drums, and you know, like the last session I did, Chris, you know, Condon. I mean, man, those guys, and I'm naming them out because of the Eli Beard. Like these guys, we just had a session with. It's hard to get that trust. Like, who are we going to hire to play drums? You know, well, this guy's always freaking upbeat and freaking positive and freaking helps lead the band, and freaking he's amazing and he's awesome just to watch. You know, but you know, and that's beautiful. But then there's also the part where I'm sitting in my a bedroom with a Pro Tools rig and tapping out freaking beats and going, man, what would Miles do? Oh no, I don't know. Maybe I just do what I feel.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me is what's beautiful about the simulation. But the simulation I think is really real. I think there's a person who created it, and that is God. And I think it's so funny because if you look at how people pray, do you feel this way? Like that's telepathy.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, when my dad was really sick recently, I was asking for prayers from people, and I only asked when the ambulance came and picked him up, you know, like, we took it was looking bad, and I really feel like the prayers helped, you know. I don't know, like, maybe it was, you know, I asked for the prayers and people reached out to him, but I felt like it really helped lift the spirits. So I don't know. I guess that my thought is that it's good to do it.
Do you think prayers are real in the simulation? Do you think they're something that can be in?
Okay, so
you know, I mean, if you don't want to talk about this, that's
no,
fine.
I would love to. This is right up something I just listened to this morning. There was a test they run where they would have numbers could either be odd or even, let's say, and they would take test subjects, and the test subjects would just wish for more odd numbers or more even numbers, and they found in the case they've been doing this study for 40 years or something like that, that the people that wish for the numbers to go the certain way, that they go that way every time.
Really?
Like, given a large enough sample size, if people are sitting there wishing for evens, at the end of the thing, it's more evens than odds, even if it's just random number generator.
I didn't know that. That is so interesting, man.
And then there's talk of like when you have plants, a lot of things where like positive words to plants as negative words to plants can cause them to grow or die, and so yeah, I do believe in the positive power of prayer and words. I mean, it really goes right along with what I do. I sing. Right. I think the vibration comes through me. I think, you know, when you recorded me with Cinch, I even I'd visit elementary schools and I'd say to the kids, they'd be like, what do you write about? And I'd be like, well, I don't write about a happy day I had. I don't go, well, I had a great day today. Everything went awesome. And I jumped in the sun and went, you know, wouldn't write that in my diary. What I would write is when things went wrong. And the songs became about things going wrong. And, you know, I feel like these songs that we recorded this time are songs about family. Some of them are about sadness, sure. But they're just, I think that there is a positivity in it all.
a more realistic view of life.
Exactly. I think as a child, you have this like sad, poetic, like sort of like I want to have a tragic, especially you know this tragic life story where you're like, and especially listening to the music we listened to growing up, a lot of that was like based in that, and yeah, I mean, and then of course 9/11 happened when we were recording the album, and things just start to go a sad way sometimes, you know, and it's not like there
Right.
isn't, there's both sides to this, and. What did I say? I said there's a lot of darkness between stars if you're not willing to. There's a lot of time to travel between stars if you don't believe in the darkness.
Right.
Like you kind of have to believe that like that's supposed to be there too. Otherwise, those bright spots aren't going to be so bright.
So you believe in what is it? What's it called? You know, the power of positive thinking, but it's called something, the art of attraction, you know.
I think yeah, like I do believe that would
do
work.
too.
I mean,
Well-
not like the book. I haven't read that book, but I do believe in like yeah, like if you want something, I believe there's ways to get it. Yeah.
I believe if you want something, how bad do you really want it?
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like
How bad do you really want it? I'm not talking about if you want money, go rob a bank.
how bad you want to lose 100 pounds? Are you willing to eat avocados and drink vodka for a year and a half?
Right.
You know, like, I mean, how badly do you want to quit drinking? Are you willing to stop and go through the throes of that completely cold turkey and not go to AA, not talk to anybody, just like, no, me, you know? And that's
Right.
so like you have to decide.
But that's why I believe in the simulation.
Yeah.
Is because, and everybody can go, oh, that's just the human mind. Well, man, it's kind of like you can bend your reality into how you want it to be.
You can manifest things.
Yes, because I mean, I think I don't want to talk about my wife all the time, but I have to because it's like her. It's like when I knew the day this was the one. It's like this whole thing just lifted off of me. Like okay, I found the one. It's like okay, cool. Let's get moving. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's like this is the woman I'm with. This is the family I want. This is in my thoughts of the family I wanted came true.
Yeah.
And where we're living came true. What I do for a living, of course, I've never done anything else for a living, but I'm saying, okay, I'm going to make records. I'm going to provide for my family. All of it came true because I just didn't know. I think, man, but I think, though, the secret to my success is that I was just, and I hate to say this I'm not saying about my people. I'm saying about me being a redneck kid from Missouri that grew up on a farm. I just didn't know any better. I didn't know how against the odds it was,
It's like you were all in on it, man. This was your
Right.
thing, you know?
And I think that's kind of like where you're at now. I don't think you would have ever dreamed that when you were with Cinch,
No, it's a totally different thing now. And it's
a different reality,
It really is, you know. And I'd say, like, have you ever been in a relationship before you were like kind of like half in it for one reason or another? Maybe you weren't
Oh,
quite
yeah.
sure, you know. And didn't that just work out the way it was? Doesn't that just work out the way it's supposed to, right? Don't they all just work
Yeah.
out the way they're supposed? And so, like,
Right.
when you're in one and you're all in it, and you feel that, then doesn't that work out the way it's supposed to? Like,
Right.
And so here you are, and two sets of twins, like beautiful kids, man.
Dude, it's just been a journey with my wife. It's been a journey, and it's like been awesome. It's been awesome. And my simulation, I love my simulation, and I tell my kids all the time, don't drag me into another part of the simulation. And I know it sounds crazy, but what if it really is a simulation? So that means how you perceive it is how it is.
Exactly.
know?
That really is what's going on, in my opinion.
Like my son that thinks the earth is flat, maybe in his simulation it really is flat.
Yeah, and for him, it really is. I mean, I truly believe that. Like there's a lot of people that I meet all the time that are wrapped up in whatever they're wrapped up in, and every time I see them, they always talk about those same things they're wrapped up in, and I'm like, well, in your simulation, this is the thing you're ruminating on. This is the thing you're talking about all the time, and you're going to stay there. They say with like psilocybin and with mushrooms that like when you take them, what it does is like most people probably aren't gonna microdose, you'd imagine, or take that trip. But what it does is like they say, like if you can imagine your mind to be a fresh like mountain of snow, right? And in life, you get on these sleds and you have these things you do every day and you go down. And slowly those ruts build into like your habits.
Right, exactly.
And we say when
grooves or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're in that rut. You know?
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, that's a great way to look at it, man.
They say when you take mushrooms or when you do microdosing that like it lays a fresh layer of powder down, and then you sort of have like different ways of getting down to the bottom of the mountain, and you form new ruts and more. And like they say that that's a lot of why it helps break addictive patterns of people.
Right, and it certainly has helped me. I mean, I gotta say, it's not like I don't like wake up every morning and go, oh God, I can't wait to do more mushrooms today. No, that's not how it is. And some things are more potent than others, and it's my medicine. And it helps me a lot.
Yeah.
And I help. I mean, here we are talking about the simulation. And then I've had someone go, hey, doing mushrooms, that's how God sees us. It's like, well, I don't know about that. But, because you could say the same thing about acid, and stuff like that, which I'm not a big acid guy. But I don't know how many times in life I did it, but not very many, maybe once or twice, But
I think like depending on what like the belief is for the person, if you're kind of open to a lot of things, you never know like where the voice is coming from. If somebody like strictly believes in aliens, then they hear something talking through them, they're going to think it's an alien. If somebody strictly believes in ghosts, they're going to think it's a ghost. If somebody strictly believes in like Allah or God, but they're going to think all these different things. If you're just sort of open to it all, like, and I kind of think that's how I am about it. I don't really have a settled opinion on like what's coming through, but yeah, I think that I mean I don't want to say that's the right way to go about it, but I just think that it is interesting to think like you never like a person who strictly believes in one thing is probably going to attribute that thing coming through them to that one thing they believe in. Yeah,
because I don't know how to take some of these people who believe in all these different religions. I gotta have to be honest with you, Some things seem pretty fishy, and I'm like, how can they think that's the right thing to do? But they grew up on a different moral stance to me.
Yeah, I always just think if I was to have like I think for my parents, obviously they had me in this country, but that doesn't really have anything to do with me. If I could have easily have been born anywhere in the whole world, and if I was born in that place, I probably would most likely have been brought up in that religion. Like here I was brought up Presbyterian. I went to the Presbyterian church. I was confirmed. To be honest with you, I don't know the difference between Christian and Presbyterian. I don't know what the main...
Oh, I mean, I think it's the same thing, and that's what's kind of crazy about the Muslim religion. There's one church, whereas in Christianity, there's a bunch of different churches. And people, everybody predicts. Everybody interprets things so differently from that book. And the Torah itself, which is the Old Testament, it's the same thing. I mean, I think the Torah even goes for Muslims. It's like that's the thing. It's like I think that's all their religion too. So that part of the Bible, that part of the story is everybody's story, which is, you have Anunnaki and all these people who came down from the planets to create us and made us freaking slave workers. All these different things, I mean, are those angels or, there's a lot of different crazy things to look into.
It's like I can never quite settle on it. I never really quite know for sure myself. And I always think like there's a comedian that talks about, and he says that like at one point in history, like all the different countries, had started to have religion. And that they all like met up eventually from like all their different places, and one was like, he made it about sky cake. He's like, he'd tell the people about sky cake, and the one people were like, there's sky cake. Did you hear about this? And the other people were like, no, it's sky cookies. And they're like, and they got in a war over the sky cake and cookies. So it's like basically the idea is that people all believing that like the thing that happens after you die is one thing or another thing, and then arguing about it. I just feel like it doesn't. At the end of the day, that doesn't really, we don't know. We're never going to know. It's like that thing about the past. I don't think we can really put our finger on like what actually happened. And then I think about it like when I die, and if somebody comes in and they give me a video screen and they're like, here, check out all the mysteries of the universe. And I'll be like, oh, cool. And I'll be checking it out. But even then I'll be like, who gave me this? Is this real?
I know. Well, you have to, I think, one of my, I got three questions for God when I get there, and that is who built the damn pyramids? Because I know man didn't build them. And everybody can go, oh yeah, they did. No, they didn't. It's literally impossible.
Yeah, it is impossible from the documentaries I've watched about how precise some of that stuff is. It's like, yeah, I don't know about that.
And where the hell? I mean, is Bigfoot real? Okay, I want to know if Bigfoot's real. And 3, who the hell are these aliens? I mean, who are these people flying around in our skies, and where are they from, and what the hell do they want? Those are probably 3 questions I would ask first, but probably I would ask, hey, where's my grandma, and where's my dad, and where's everybody at? I'm ready to see them. That'd probably be the first thing I ask. And is my wife and kids still okay? I mean, those questions, of course. But I'm saying after that, then it's like, hey, who built the pyramids? Is Bigfoot real or not? Is alien, where is these aliens from? I mean, because obviously the government has told us that they're real, but then again, there's a lot of things they say I have to go, to tell me the economy's in a great shape, and it's like, dude, it's like the worst shape ever, and probably almost borderline Great Depression. And it's like, come on, man. It's like, come on, just, so you can't believe anything on the internet half the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, for me, as far as like the leaders go and the way everything goes, like in this, at least like, not just, but at least where I've grown up in America here, I've always felt that, you could either say like, oh, well, the leaders have our best interest in mind as citizens, or they don't have our best interest in mind as citizens, or maybe a mix, obviously. I've always believed that they don't have our best interest in mind.
Yeah,
I've never believed that anybody did. And I never believed that I really had a say in what's going on. So I just sort of, I'm not going to say I just stand on the sidelines, but to a certain degree, I guess I don't really, it's hard to partake because I don't really feel like I have much power into it.
Well, do you think that the simulation is going bad? Do you think the world is going bad? Do you think?
I don't think it can. I think I think everything is as it is. And, like it can only be now. Like all we have is now. And then like, oh, here's now again, and so, everything that happened in the past that might not have seemed like, like I got pulled over by the police coming here on like the first 4 hours into this trip. And I could have been like, man, what the, but I just kind of looked at it like, well, I'll take a picture of this happening, and maybe
I saw the picture. It was pretty funny.
Maybe this stopped me from like getting hit by a dump truck like down the road, and because I got pulled over, and I didn't just pretend to feel that way. Like I really did feel that way, and then that made it better. Like, because what I can't control like what's happened in the past.
Yeah, sometimes, man, in traffic, I get a little outraged, but then I do think, well, I could have gotten killed on the way home from the studio or whatever. But I'm in a hurry to get home to the wife and kids, and I'm hardly like maybe a dozen times ever in this part of my life have I ever even been driving home like at 5 or 6. Usually I'm later or earlier. I'm never like right in that groove of traffic, so it really helps me not get mad and my blood pressure up and me calling people names. And I'm really working on that. I really am. Everybody knows that I'm freaking, a very much a road rage guy,
I mean, I think everybody might know that about me too, that I definitely tended to be that way as far back as like just, a couple of years ago, or even, like it's still something I work on every day. That's a really tough one because people are people.
It's tough. Yeah. And it's tough it's tough living a life of forgiveness, but it is the most powerful weapon that we have, and there's no doubt about it. And it's not just what Jesus said, it what Buddha said, it what all these prophets, and to me, I mean, I'm not saying, but I'm, me, I'm a follower of Christ, so I believe that he told us, hey man, you got to forgive people. That doesn't mean you still got to have something to do with them. But back to the simulations, speaking of that, I look at these people driving as non-player characters.
Yeah,
they don't really exist unless I run into them.
No, it's true. I do believe in that. And like I said, like I spent so many years before I'd even left the house, being like, man, these people are just getting in my way on purpose. Why does this happen to me? For decades, I would think that like, and I'm telling you, I kind of stopped thinking that people were purposely getting in my way. And it stopped happening, and I was like, "Whoa! I'm power suggesting my life. Like, I'm by using the power of suggestion, I'm going out suggesting that people are going to be getting in my way, and maybe they are, or maybe they aren't. But it's that whole thing where like because I've suggested it, now I'm noticing it happen more. You know. Like,
So have you taken steps to be like that? I mean, I'm serious.
I mean, honestly, like quitting drinking was a huge part. Like not having like let's say I have a hangover in the morning and I'm running late because I did this, that, the next thing. You know, like that changes things. So now you don't have a hangover. You know, I have a better schedule. I'm not like late for things because of that. So I think that changed things a bit. But like, you know, living in the moment and being in the now, I think like understanding that like it's hard to make plans for the future and have them like all work out the way that you exactly plan it to go. And it's hard to, it's impossible to go back into the past and change the things that you've done. So you just sort of stay where you are. That crazy enough helps me with driving.
Well, living in the now is like, because all these people with all these things that happened in the past and all these things that happened to even races and even freaking, I mean, all these things, you know.
Yes,
like
yes.
We're living in the now. Let's everybody, we're moving forward in time, and you know, and that's not going to help. Learning from mistakes is going to help.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt.
But rehashing bad things that our ancestors did, or even that we did,
I would hate it if somebody
it's stupid,
hated me based on the color of my skin, you know, like if somebody thought like, man, that guy, like because of like, and not for the basis of my character, you know, like I always try to put my character out there, but I know that people judge people based on the color of their skin. I know.
Oh, dude.
You know, not, and I'm white, obviously, but like people judge white people judge Hispanic people judge black people. They judge people all the time. And it's rough. Like sometimes you might not have a friend because of that, you know?
Well, do you feel like, okay, so when we went to the store last night, I can't remember if I think I was wearing just a t-shirt. So if you go there and you're with me, I'm not kidding. They're going to treat you differently if you just went by yourself. And they will, because I've got a bald head, I've got tattoos below my sleeve, and they look at me like, oh, this guy is a druggie. He's been in prison, you know, he's probably committed violent crimes. And here's what's a shame.
See, I didn't think that.
Oh, dude, they do though. When I walk into a place, if I'm not laughing and I'm with my kids, you know, I'm telling you, me and Junior, when we would walk into a place, a big black guy and a guy that looks like me, everybody looked at us like, something's up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. Like, okay, I can't have a big black friend and I can't have tattoos and a bald head because they automatically profile me even more than Junior, because Junior dresses a little nicer than me. Junior has a little bit better, the way he talks isn't ignorant. I'm not saying I talk ignorant. I'm just saying, you know, sometimes when I'm kidding around, you know, and stuff, and people don't know me, they hear me, they go, oh, what the hell is redneck, you know? You know.
I honestly, man, I mean, I think that's a lot like my traffic thing. Like where like you're going out sort of suggesting it yourself that like people might think of you like that, because I didn't get that vibe at all last night. I thought like you was fine, and I never look at you like that. Like I don't. Like,
well, maybe in that part of town.
I mean, I know underneath it all you're a badass, dude.
Yeah, but I'm just saying though, it's like, but what's a shame is all of those things used to be true about me.
I feel like you were in a raincoat last night, man.
What was I really? Okay, well, if I was wearing a raincoat, you're all good. They're just going, this guy's a bald guy. You know?
I'm kidding, dude.
You know?
I don't know if you were or not, but
Maybe
I didn't feel like we walked in and were like intimidating to the staff or anything.
No, they just treat you differently. It seems like they do to me, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, I mean, you know, maybe it's me being paranoid, or maybe it's my mind frame, and maybe I'm creating that in my simulation.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah, like I think that my traffic thing I was creating, and like maybe just try to like go out and you know think like, oh, these people are really gonna like know me, and like I'm Malcolm Springer, the producer, man. These guys should be like, oh, it's cool to know this guy. Like I want to tell my friends this guy was in my store. Like that's what I do in my hometown. I try to like make it so that like I feel like people are like, oh, that's that guy that plays music. Like
right. Well, you know,
like nice, like people kind of like knowing artists, and they like a lot of the support I got in coming down here, I felt was like from people that were like, you know, they like Jamie and Jamie's doing this, so cool. Like it's a little bit different when like you got a business and you're selling somebody something, like, you know, like,
right.
And an artist isn't really like that necessarily. I've never really been selling things, you know, like to people.
Yeah, that's true. Me, I'm not, you know, I mean, you know, you just kind of got to roll with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, as an artist, and if you make a living as an artist, you are one really lucky and gifted person because it's hard to do.
Yeah, that's what I said. You feel you should feel blessed. I feel blessed. I know there's not. I think about starting quarterbacks in the NFL. How there's like only 32 spots, and like even if you're Zach Wilson, you're out there starting for the Jets. It's like, well, man, like. You're one of the 32. Well, maybe not, but you're one of the 32 best quarterbacks, and you're pretty good. And so it's the same way in the arts. It's very competitive, and everybody wants a piece. Everybody wants the hit song. Everybody wants to have it work out and have the good story. Nobody wants the crappy story where you end up underneath the bridge. Everybody wants the good one. And you're right. This is a very blessed life.
I disagree. I think there is people who like that story that don't like you. If they don't like you, they want to see you fail.
Oh, dude, how many people want to see you fail?
Dude.
You got to remember that there's a huge contingency of people that want to see you fall flat on your face.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I've got those people in my life for sure.
We all do.
And they'll look at me to my face, but hey, dude, what's up, man? Yep. And then they're like, man, I wish that some bitches looking. He's got a podcast, he's got a beautiful wife, he's got beautiful kids, he's happy. I can't stand that guy. And it's like, well, man, listen, man. I don't hate on anybody, man, for being successful. Matter of fact, usually when I hear about another producer doing good, I go, dude, that's fucking great, man. Awesome. Like, I don't care. That's not my deal, It's
I wish I could say that about myself because it's like I know it exists because I see it in myself. Like I see somebody having great success around me at something, and I find myself being a little bit like, yeah, well, maybe because I find excuses as to why it's happening for them and not for me, and like, especially when I was overweight, I was like always thinking that everyone's success was happening around me because they weren't overweight, and my failures, like the reason things didn't work out was because I was fat. And then I lost the weight, and I was like, oh, it's way more than just being fat. I have to do a lot of work here.
Me, I study other people's success, like the podcast. I've studied Joe Rogan and how he did it, and
yeah, Rogan's amazing, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he is great.
Like, you have to understand, like I used to watch this show called News Radio, and he was like maybe the 12th best actor on that show. There was a huge and he was like the janitor, and even back then he was like on the show. He was into UFC fighting. He was into podcasts. He was into like the whole aliens and conspiracies and everything.
Right.
All the way back then he was doing that. Then he actually did the UFC thing, and then he actually became the podcast. I mean, talk about manifesting your dreams. Like I was a fan of Rogan when he was just that actor on that show. I thought he was hilarious, and then to see this play out the way it did,
right?
It's like almost like Bob Odenkirk. Bob Odenkirk and Mr. Show, loved him. Thought he was like the most underrated talent. And then to see like him come up and do what he does with Better Call Saul and like all the rest of the stuff he's doing now, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, man. It's like, what I kind of look at it as is I want to learn from those guys. And, my goal isn't to be Joe Rogan, that's for sure, because I have so many other things in life that I am, like a producer, a husband, a freaking father, all those things. But I mean, it does look great to me.
There's definitely something to learn from him. Like the number one.
The only thing I'm jealous of is some of the guests he has. I'd like them, but I can get them. You know what I mean?
He can't get me. I won't go on his podcast. Only on yours, man.
But what's great is like I love. When I first started the podcast, it's so funny because I was like, I'm gonna find guys. Like I just want to find like I want to have a podcast on the principal of my kid's school. And just say, hey, what's it like being a principal?
Yeah,
and, if it's interesting, and I think it's very interesting to parents, like, I wonder what this guy thinks about being a principal, and how does he go about handling all these kids and, doing the things he does, But I'm serious. Like
I would definitely like to do that with the principal of my son's school.
Just to see what the hell he's thinking.
No, because she's super hot.
Oh God, I can say something right now, but I can't with a podcast.
Yeah, hopefully she doesn't. Hopefully she doesn't listen to our podcast here.
Philosophy. You're a not married man. Go for it, man. Make your kids' grades better.
I'm pretty sure she's married. Yes.
Don't go for it.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
It's too bad. You can really up your son's grade average like really big time.
Oh yeah, that would help actually.
No pun intended. Fucking cool, man.
That's funny.
Okay, so listen. So we talked about because I was talking to you about spirits and stuff like that. Because I mean, if you don't believe in a simulation theory, it's fine. Fine. What if this is just a real world, real planet, all that stuff, and we're just here? It doesn't matter if it's a simulation or not. It's kind of like if the world is flat or not. Really, what matters to me, I'm gonna have a plane. I'm gonna fly off the side of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know of anybody who's flown off the side of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that happening.
No, for some reason, I don't know why. They can't fly over that mountain. They freaking goes, whoop, whatever.
Bermuda Triangle, we got that, but other than that, yeah.
No, I got to say, if I really thought the world was flat, I would be trying to figure out how I could get to the edge so I could take a piss off the edge of the world. Be great.
Take a picture.
Yeah, man. Fucking here I am.
Super selfie.
Yeah. But no,
I'm at the ice wall.
but it really doesn't matter if it is flat or not. So it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter if it's a simulation or not, because the simulation is just saying this is a world that we were put in, and it was all meant for something bigger and better than what we can imagine. You know,
I agree, and I think like with a lot of these things, like especially the things that you can't see. Like I was saying, like I believe in momentum, because momentum you can't see it, but like it's there. And like you've got God, you've got you've got all these things that you can't see out there. And I guess I just think to myself, well, it comes down to belief over truth, and what you choose to believe more than like what the actual truth is.
Cool,
And that's what forms your simulation.
well, you know what? I have to ask you a question because there was a conversation we had yesterday. I want to know about the demon named Fuck.
Yeah,
The demon named Fuck. I just want to know who this guy is. I mean, was he a real thing or?
well, yeah, my mom had told me, and I can't imagine. I mean, my mom's like a school teacher, super nice, but she told me this story growing up about she went to this school, and at the school they got out a Ouija board, and the Ouija board, this demon or person, whatever, was talking through them and said his name was Fuck, and Fuck told them to go to this church. And they went to that church and like went during the day, and it was weird. Like there was like druids, people with like hoods, like walking around outside. Like it was sort of like a weird ass church, in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia. And then they went back later at night. And when they went back at night, like all sorts of weird things were happening with the wind and like, just scary stuff. And she went with like her boyfriend and her friend and her boyfriend. And so the four of them were there, and one of the boyfriends stole a baby's tombstone without anybody knowing, put it in the back of the car. And they left, and she said as they left, a sickle was flying through the air chasing them, like from the graveyard.
What?
Yeah.
A what now?
A sickle. Yeah.
Like a sickle sword?
Yeah, like one of those like things you cut wheat with, just
wow.
And so they were scared, they got back home, and the boyfriends dropped them off at the dorm, and they went up to their second floor of their dorm, and she said that all night there was like demons, like, something scraping on the window saying, "Give me my baby back," right? And the next morning they woke up, drove over to the boyfriend's house, and turned out like the one guy had gotten up in the middle of the night and tripped over that tombstone, fell down the steps, broke his leg. So they went back, took the tombstone back to the graveyard, dropped it off, and that was that.
Really? That's crazy. But I mean, so they actually saw somebody like scratching on the window and stuff.
Yeah, they could hear it, and it was like scratching on the window. I don't know if they saw, I don't remember, she said she saw a face or anything, but like they said it was the second story. And like, so, I can imagine it's, I don't know if my mom was trying to get me to not use Ouija boards, which if that was the case, it worked, because I was like, I'm not using a Ouija board after that story, dude.
Man, heck no. Don't use a Ouija board. That's just not good things. I just don't think there's anything good that could come out of it. It's not,
No.
It's not positive. Even if it is our minds doing it and not something else, it's still not positive,
Yeah, I do think that you are able to, like, I always think where there's smoke, there's fire. So, like, you wonder, like, is there werewolves? Are there Draculas? Are there Frankensteins? Are there, like, ghosts? Is there paranormal activity? And you're like, well, there's a hell of a lot of movies and things about these things. And you got to wonder, like, well, maybe there's something to some of them.
Well, I mean, there is something to some of them. It's to every one of them. And it's like, man, it all goes back to what I was saying. It's like, if that's what you believe. But I believe it's more than that. I believe it's real, and I believe it's like, that stuff is not just made up by the human imagination. I mean, there's a reason why we came up with those things. And I mean,
yeah,
obviously the vampires are like those people they say that kill kids and drink their blood and stuff, and don't age as fast and all this stuff, like adrenochrome. You've heard of all that, haven't you?
I have heard of it. Yes.
Yes, it's just ridiculous to me. In my simulation, is like, man. I mean, come on. But obviously, in somewhere in the simulation, people do that.
Yeah, I always think about like just how crazy things can get. Like if you go to like a hoarder's house and you're like, you walk in and you're like, holy shit, dude! Like, how did it get to be
Like this?
Like, and the girl's walking through the house just like on like a. Like she's like at the ceiling, like, and you're like, dude, like, how in the world did this get to be like this? Like, and you just think it's normal. So I think that you never know how far the mind can take you, you know. So yeah,
And it's a beautiful thing, and then it's a scary thing at the same time.
yeah, it's
a very scary thing. At the same time.
It is. It's like nature, you know. Like it just goes to show that, like, you know, like in a way, you know, obviously cancer is gross, but cancer could be beautiful if you looked at it in a certain way, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, the whole death thing to me, man. My grandfather has something written on his grave, and it's God gave life to man, and dying is just a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard to accept that. It just, you know, it's terrible, but it's part of life.
Yeah.
And hey, you know what's crazy? I always say this, man. I said this to a friend of mine when we went to Wayne Sweeney's funeral. I said, man, I looked at him, I grabbed him by the shoulders. I said, none of us are getting out of this alive.
Exactly.
So one day we all got to go. Maybe Michio Paku is, maybe he is correct that the fountain of youth drug will come out in our lifetimes, and maybe we will live to 1,000 years. I'm not wrap my head around that. Would I want to live to 1,000 years? Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do after this, you know? I mean, do I keep on producing records, or do I become a orthopedic surgeon, or maybe even
Porn star.
well, my wife may have something to say about that. Or hell, you know, right along with me. Well, but you know, I'm just saying, man, or go for acting or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, you got movie ideas. You got. I mean,
If everybody's going to live to 1,000 years, you got some competition coming up, because that means Tom Cruise ain't going anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just
Matthew McConaughey ain't going nowhere.
You want your windshield to be, your forward to be as full as it can be of possibilities. And so, yeah, like never narrow it down. I mean, I guess maybe sometimes you do need to narrow it down, but for the most part, you know, like have those options out there of things that you can do, man.
Well, if you're going to live for 1,000 years, yeah.
Yeah, and that's even that in itself.
They say the science is really real, though.
Well, I mean, even you believing in the possibility of living for 1,000 years could be the very thing that triggers it to happen. So believe.
Very cool.
Believe in it, man. You know, like, as I said, I believe that, like, when I die, that, like, my dog is going to be able to play with, like, my old dog, and then the dog before that. I'm going to get all my dogs that I've ever had in my life together.
Right, go hanging.
In a big pack, and we're going to go do some dog shit. We're going to hang out and do dog stuff together, man. And, then I'm going to get my dad when he was 10 years old, and I'm going to be like, I'm going to get my son who's 10, and then I'm going to make myself 10, and we'll go all play in the playground together. And I'll be like, this is cool, dude.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And I believe that because I imagine that it's possible. But I think that I only started imagining that like maybe a couple years ago. I started imagining like this video game where I have like I can pick who I want to play with and what age they are and what years I want to go to, or like what mysteries I want to find out. And then, like, you know, if I die and that's not what happens, I'll be like, shit, you know. But if it is what happens, I'll be like, oh my God, I'm the imagination of myself, and I imagine my own death. This is amazing. You know?
Yeah. Me and you were talking the other day about, you know, how to die often frames who you were, and everybody forgets about everything else, you know, and it's just so real.
Yeah, like
that is crazy though, but it's really the facts, you know. Oh yeah, man, you know. I mean, I don't know. Just the silly ways to get killed are just stupid. Like, what the hell, you know? It's like...
Yeah, if it was erased and you died 1,000 times in this timeline, you wouldn't know. He would just be putting you back before it, and you would just, you know, like Man in Black, that thing where you...
That thing and you snap a thing of you and you're going to go back.
And it's like, I mean, there's an episode of Rick and Morty that really, really dives into that I'm like, I've watched that episode so many times just to be like, I really think that's what's happening. I really do, man. It's scary. Like, I'm like, because you and I both live pretty reckless lives as well as like musicians and you know, rock producers. It is exactly a straight path by any means, and certainly like sometimes to get things done you gotta as I said, I don't know karate, but I know crazy. Yes, indeed. And you got to get some things done sometimes that way. And I think that in doing that, like, who's to say how many times we've died on the timeline, and
Right.
that here we are now, and like that that when you're supposed to die, that's when you do. But in the meantime, you get lives like you would in a video game.
Man, I'll tell you what, we've had a great podcast, man. Thank you so much for coming on here, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks
you
for having
so
me
much,
down
man.
here.
What a great podcast. Thank you, man.
Thanks,
That's
Malcolm.
awesome.
That was fun, dude.
Yeah, it was really fun.